One month can determine whether your perennial garden explodes with healthy blooms for the rest of the season or slowly declines into a patch of wilted leaves, weak stems, and disappointing flowers. July is that month. While many gardeners assume the hard work is already done, experienced gardeners know this is exactly when perennials need the most attention. Ignore them now, and by late summer, you'll likely be wondering why the blooms disappeared, why the leaves turned brown, or why your once beautiful garden suddenly looks tired and lifeless. The truth is, July is a turning point. The scorching sun, soaring temperatures, dry soil, aggressive weeds, hungry insects, and relentless plant diseases are all working against your garden every single day. But here's the good news. You can stay ahead of every one of those problems with just a few simple tasks. These aren't complicated gardening tricks reserved for professionals. They're practical, proven techniques that can completely transform the health and appearance of your perennial beds. Welcome back to Savage, Harvest, and Heal, where we help gardeners grow stronger, healthier, and more productive gardens naturally. If you're passionate about creating a garden that keeps rewarding you season after season, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly gardening guides designed to help your plants thrive in every season. Today, we're counting down 12 essential jobs every gardener should do to their perennials in July. Some of these take only a few minutes, but together they can mean the difference between vibrant, colorful blooms and struggling plants that barely survive the summer heat. Stay with us until the very end because the final tip is one of the most overlooked July gardening mistakes, and avoiding it could save your favorite perennials from serious damage. Let's get started. Number 1. Water deeply, not frequently. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make during July is watering too often but not deeply enough. It feels like the right thing to do. The weather is hot, the soil dries out quickly, and giving plants a quick sprinkle every evening seems helpful. Unfortunately, shallow watering creates shallow roots. When water only wets the top inch or two of soil, perennial roots begin growing closer to the surface where moisture is easiest to find. The problem is that the surface is also where the soil heats up the fastest and dries out first. This leaves plants trapped in a constant cycle of stress, making them far less capable of surviving heat waves. Instead, water slowly and thoroughly. Aim to soak the soil 6 to 8 inches. Deep watering encourages roots to grow downward, where the soil stays cooler and retains moisture much longer. Plants with deep root systems are stronger, healthier, more drought-tolerant, and far more resilient during the hottest weeks of summer. The best time to water is early in the morning. Morning watering gives plants plenty of moisture before the day's heat arrives, while allowing leaves to dry quickly, reducing the risk of fungal diseases like powdery mildew and leaf spot. Evening watering may seem convenient, but damp foliage sitting overnight creates the perfect environment for disease. Don't water according to your calendar. Water according to your soil. Stick your finger a couple of inches into the ground. If it's still moist, wait another day. If it's dry, it's time for a deep soak. The goal isn't to water more often, it's to water smarter. Number 2. Refresh your mulch before the heat peaks. Many gardeners spread mulch in spring and never think about it again. By July, much of that mulch has broken down, been blown away, or become too thin to do its job effectively. A fresh 2 to 3 inch layer of organic mulch acts like a protective blanket for your garden. It shields the soil from the blazing summer sun, dramatically slows moisture evaporation, keeps root temperatures cooler, suppresses weeds, and gradually improves soil as it decomposes. Without adequate mulch, the sun can bake the soil surface until it becomes hard and compacted. Water runs off instead of soaking in, and plant roots suffer from extreme temperature swings. Materials like shredded bark, pine straw, chopped leaves, compost, or untreated wood chips all make excellent mulch. Just remember to keep it a few inches away from the crowns and stems of your perennials. Piling mulch directly against the plant can entrap excess moisture and encourage stem rot.
Refreshing your mulch may not seem exciting, but it's one of the simplest ways to reduce watering, improve soil health, and protect your plants throughout the hottest part of summer. Number 3. Remove every spent bloom you can find. Your perennials have one main goal after flowering: to produce seeds. Once seed production begins, the plant naturally shifts energy away from creating new flowers. That's where deadheading becomes one of the most valuable July tasks. Removing faded flowers tells the plant it hasn't finished blooming yet. Instead of investing energy into seeds, many perennial varieties respond by producing fresh buds and extending their flowering season. Plants like coneflowers, salvias, coreopsis, Shasta daisies, blanket flowers, and catmint all benefit tremendously from regular deadheading. Don't wait until every bloom has faded. Spend just 5 or 10 minutes every few days snipping off spent flowers. It's amazing how much fresher and more colorful your garden will look. While deadheading, pay attention to yellowing leaves, broken stems, or signs of insect damage. Catching problems early often prevents much larger issues later in the season. A few minutes of maintenance now can reward you with weeks of additional blooms. Number 4. Cut back leggy growth before it takes over. By the time July arrives, many perennials have already put on a tremendous amount of growth. While that sounds like a good thing, fast growth often comes with a downside. Long stems begin leaning in every direction, flowers become sparse, and plants that look neat in early summer suddenly appear messy and exhausted. This is your signal that it's time for a strategic trim. Cutting back leggy growth isn't about making your garden look bare. It's about encouraging healthier, fuller growth for the rest of the season. A light trim can stimulate fresh side shoots, improve airflow around the plant, and even trigger a second flush of blooms on many perennial varieties. Plants like catmint, hardy geraniums, salvia, yarrow, and nepeta often respond beautifully to a midsummer haircut. Don't be afraid to remove up to 1/3 of the plant if it has finished its first bloom cycle or is becoming floppy. Use clean, sharp pruners and make your cuts just above a healthy set of leaves. Within a couple of weeks, many perennials will reward you with lush, new growth that looks far better than the tired stems you removed. If you skip this simple task, your garden can quickly become overcrowded. Poor air circulation creates the perfect conditions for fungal diseases, while tangled stems trap humidity and invite unwanted pests. A little pruning now keeps your entire garden healthier and more attractive. Remember, you're not hurting the plant, you're helping it redirect its energy into stronger, more productive growth. Number 5. Feed hungry perennials the right way. July can be a demanding month for flowering plants. They've spent weeks producing leaves, stems, buds, and colorful blooms, and all of that growth uses an incredible amount of energy. If your perennials have been flowering continuously since spring, they may be running low on nutrients. But here's where many gardeners make a costly mistake. They reach for a fertilizer that's high in nitrogen, thinking more fertilizer automatically means more flowers. Instead, the plants produce lots of lush green leaves with fewer blooms. During July, focus on feeding wisely rather than feeding heavily. A balanced fertilizer or one slightly higher in phosphorus and potassium can help support continued flowering, stronger roots, and better overall plant health without encouraging excessive leafy growth. Avoid overfeeding, especially during extreme heat. Plants already under stress from high temperatures may struggle to absorb nutrients efficiently, and excessive fertilizer can even burn sensitive roots. Always water thoroughly before and after fertilizing if you're using granular products. Moist soil helps nutrients move safely into the root zone while reducing the risk of fertilizer burn. Healthy feeding isn't about forcing growth. It's about giving your plants exactly what they need to keep performing through the toughest part of summer. Number 6. Watch for pests before they take control. July is paradise for garden pests. Warm temperatures, longer days, and abundant plant growth create ideal conditions for insects to multiply rapidly. What begins as a handful of aphids or a few Japanese beetles can turn into a full-blown infestation within days if left unchecked. That's why regular inspection is one of the smartest gardening habits you can develop. Walk through your garden every few days. Look underneath leaves where insects often hide. Check flower buds, new shoots, and stems for chewing damage, sticky residue, curled leaves, or tiny clusters of eggs. Some of the most common July troublemakers include aphids, spider mites, whiteflies, Japanese beetles, slugs, earwigs, and caterpillars. Each one causes damage in different ways, but catching them early makes control much easier. Instead of reaching immediately for harsh chemical sprays, start with natural solutions whenever possible. A strong blast of water can remove aphids. Hand-picking beetles early in the morning is surprisingly effective. Neem oil, insecticidal soap, and encouraging beneficial insects like ladybugs and lacewings can help keep pest populations under control naturally. Healthy gardens are rarely pest-free, but they are balanced. The goal isn't to eliminate every insect, it's to prevent harmful pests from overwhelming your plants. The sooner you notice a problem, the easier it is to solve.
Number 7. Pull weeds before they steal everything. Weeds don't simply make a garden look untidy. They're fierce competitors. Every weed growing beside your perennials is stealing water, nutrients, sunlight, and root space. During the intense heat of July, those resources become even more valuable. Some aggressive weeds can produce thousands of seeds from a single plant. Allow them to mature, and you're creating gardening headaches not only for this summer, but for seasons to come. The easiest weeds to remove are young ones. Their roots haven't spread deeply yet, and they pull out with minimal effort, especially after rainfall or watering when the soil is soft. Try spending just 10 minutes pulling weeds every few days, instead of waiting until the problem becomes overwhelming. Small, consistent efforts save hours of hard work later. Mulch, which we discussed earlier, is one of your best defenses because it blocks sunlight from reaching weed seeds. Healthy, vigorous perennials also shade the soil naturally, making it harder for weeds to establish themselves. Don't let weeds fool you into thinking they're harmless. Every day they remain in your garden, they're taking resources your prized perennials desperately need. Number 8. Support heavy bloomers before they collapse. Nothing is more disappointing than walking into the garden after a summer storm and finding your tallest flowers lying flat on the ground. Many popular perennials grow quickly during early summer, but their stems often struggle to support large blooms once July storms, strong winds, or heavy rainfall arrive. Plants like delphiniums, hollyhocks, peonies, Joe Pye weed, tall phlox, and certain daisies can easily bend or snap under their own weight. Don't wait until they've already fallen over. Install garden supports while stems are still mostly upright. Garden stakes, peony rings, growth-through supports, or even decorative bamboo stakes can provide discreet support without distracting from the beauty of the flowers. Tie stems loosely, using soft garden ties or strips of cloth that won't cut into the plant as it continues growing. Supporting your plants early also improves airflow, keeps flowers cleaner, prevents stems from breaking, and makes your garden look much more polished throughout the rest of the season. A few simple supports installed in July can save weeks of frustration later.
Number 9. Divide and mark overcrowded perennials for fall. July is one of the best times to identify which perennials are becoming overcrowded, even if you won't divide them until the cooler temperatures of fall. Many gardeners wait until plants stop blooming before they notice a problem, but by then they've forgotten exactly which plants needed attention. Take a slow walk through your garden and look for warning signs. Is the center of the plant looking bare while all the new growth is around the edges? Are the blooms noticeably smaller than they were last year? Does the plant seem to dry out much faster than others nearby? These are classic signs that the plant is overcrowded and competing with itself for water and nutrients. Instead of trying to divide stressed plants during the peak of summer, simply mark them now. A small garden tag, a colored ribbon, or even a note in your gardening journal can save you from guessing later. When cooler weather arrives in early fall, you'll already know exactly which plants need dividing. Dividing overcrowded perennials restores their vigor. It gives roots more room to grow, increases airflow, encourages stronger flowering, and often provides you with free plants to expand your garden or share with family and friends. Think of July as your inspection month. You're preparing for success later rather than reacting after problems become severe. Number 10. Remove diseased foliage immediately. July's combination of heat and humidity create ideal conditions for many common plant diseases. Powdery mildew, leaf spot, rust, black spot, and various fungal infections can spread surprisingly fast if infected leaves remain on the plant. One of the worst mistakes gardeners make is ignoring a few damaged leaves because they don't seem like a big deal. Unfortunately, diseases rarely stay confined to one leaf. Spores spread through wind, splashing water, insects, and even your gardening tools. That's why regular inspection is so important. If you notice leaves covered with white powder, black spots, orange, rust-colored patches, or unusual yellowing that doesn't look natural, remove those leaves as soon as possible. Always use clean pruners and disinfect your tools before moving to another plant to avoid spreading disease. Never leave infected plant material lying in the garden or add it to your compost pile unless you're certain your compost reaches temperatures high enough to destroy plant pathogens. It's much safer to dispose of diseased material according to your local waste guidelines. At the same time, improve airflow by thinning crowded growth when necessary and avoid watering the foliage. Direct water towards the soil instead. Dry leaves are far less likely to develop fungal problems than leaves that stay wet for hours. A few minutes spent removing diseased foliage today could prevent an entire flower bed from becoming infected tomorrow. Number 11. Protect your soil during heat waves. Perennials may appear tough above ground, but their roots are surprisingly vulnerable when summer temperatures soar. Even if your plants still look healthy, the soil beneath them may be reaching temperatures that place tremendous stress on the root system. When soil becomes excessively hot, roots struggle to absorb water efficiently. Growth slows down, flowering decreases, leaves begin wilting during the hottest part of the day, and plants become much more susceptible to pests and diseases. Protecting your soil is just as important as watering your plants. Maintain a generous layer of mulch to insulate the root zone. Water deeply during extended dry periods rather than giving frequent shallow drinks. If an extreme heat wave is forecast, consider providing temporary afternoon shade for newly planted or especially sensitive perennials using shade cloth or even a lightweight garden umbrella. Avoid unnecessary digging or cultivating during extreme heat. Disturbing the soil exposes cooler, moist layers to direct sunlight, causing moisture to evaporate more quickly. Healthy soil acts like a reservoir, storing water, supporting beneficial microorganisms, and keeping roots comfortable even when the air temperature climbs. The stronger your soil, the stronger your perennials will be, not just this summer, but for years to come. Number 12. Stop ignoring your garden. Walk through it every single day. This final tip doesn't require expensive tools, special fertilizers, or advanced gardening skills. In fact, it's completely free. Yet, it may be the most valuable habit of all. Spend just 5 to 10 minutes walking through your garden every day. You don't have to prune everything or pull every weed during each visit. Simply observe. Notice which plants are thriving. Look for flowers beginning to fade. Watch for insects before they multiply. Check soil moisture with your finger. Look underneath leaves. Spot weeds while they're still tiny. Pay attention to stems that may need support before they snap. Experienced gardeners don't have healthier gardens because they work harder. They have healthier gardens because they notice problems sooner. A thirsty plant is easy to save today. A severely dehydrated plant may never fully recover. A few aphids today are easy to control. Thousands next week become a much bigger challenge. One diseased leaf today may be the only one you'll ever have to remove. Wait another week, and that disease could spread throughout the entire plant. Your daily walk through the garden builds a connection with your plants. You begin recognizing subtle changes long before they become major problems. That awareness is one of the greatest gardening skills anyone can develop. The healthiest gardens are rarely the ones receiving the most expensive treatments. They're usually cared for by gardeners who pay close attention every single day. As we wrap up, remember that July isn't the month to relax and assume your perennials can take care of themselves. It's the month that determines how your garden will perform for the rest of the summer. Every deep watering, every faded bloom you remove, every weed you pull, every pest you catch early, and every minute you spend observing your plants adds up to a healthier, stronger, and more beautiful garden. Your perennials have already invested months of growth to reach this point. Give them the care they need now, and they'll reward you with vibrant blooms, lush foliage, and the kind of garden that turns heads all season long. If you found these 12 July perennial tips helpful, give this video a thumbs up and share it with a fellow gardener who wants a healthier garden this summer. And if you're new to Savage Harvest and Heal, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest gardening guides, seasonal tips, and natural growing techniques. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 12 July tasks do you always make time for? And which one are you planning to start today? Thanks for watching, keep growing, keep healing, and we'll see you in the next video right here on Savage Harvest and Heal. Happy gardening!